Welcome. You're here because you're looking for the shortcut to really understanding the big shifts happening in the world of work, and today we are diving right in.
We really are.
We're focusing on a foundational principle that is very quickly separating the high-performing teams from the ones that are, well, just stuck. It's the first key value from the AI Agile Manifesto.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore that core value, human-AI collaboration over isolated human effort.
It sounds simple on the surface,
It does.
but it actually represents a huge seismic shift in thinking.
And the context for this is what makes it so urgent for you, the listener. We're synthesizing 6 connected reflections that really dig into how agility and intelligence absolutely have to merge now.
It's not optional anymore.
No. And what's so fascinating is this paradox so many teams are living right now. You have clear processes, you're using all the modern tools, following the rules, and yet everyone feels completely exhausted. Confused even.
And disconnected from the actual impact of their work.
Exactly. It's this feeling that the work is just unnecessarily heavy. It is, and the sources we've looked at confirm this. It's a widespread exhaustion. And it raises a really important question. Why are these highly disciplined teams working harder than ever, but seeing, diminishing returns in both innovation and just fulfillment?
Well, the answer seems to be rooted in a misunderstanding of the history here. I
Yeah.
mean, Agile in its pure form was never meant to be this mechanical framework where you just check boxes.
Never. And AI, especially now, was never meant to just replace human purpose or, critical thought.
Right.
So our objective is to uncover what happens when we move beyond seeing AI as just a widget for efficiency. What happens when we successfully reconnect humans' purpose and intelligence right back into the core workflow.
Because that connection is what gets rid of that heavy work feeling.
That's the key.
Okay, so let's unpack that core problem first, this idea of the failure of isolated effort. This is that uncomfortable realization that teams can follow a process perfectly. Tick every single box.
Run a flawless sprint.
Run a flawless sprint and still completely miss a meaningful outcome.
It's such a common organizational failure pattern. Teams will meticulously celebrate finishing a sprint, right? They hit all the deadlines, they deliver the features that were outlined.
They did the work.
They did the work. But if you ask them, okay, so what was the tangible change in customer behavior?
Yeah.
Or what was the real business value here? They struggle.
They can't answer.
They can't. And you can feel it. The effort feels flat or even worse, pointless.
That flat feeling, that's the critical signal. We've managed to create order with our processes, and we need that structure, but order by itself doesn't provide the meaning. It doesn't give you the direction.
It's like being handed a perfect map, but with no destination.
Yes. You can drive really efficiently for miles and miles, but you're still completely lost.
That analogy is perfect.
Yeah.
Process defines the how, but purpose is the engine. It provides the why. And when that why is missing, the mechanical how just feels heavy.
So the AI Agile Manifesto proposes a fix by immediately shifting the focus. It starts with the first of the 6 core reflections.
And it's a big one. It immediately establishes human purpose as the new North Star.
Which is a radical reordering of priorities, isn't it?
It really is. For decades, the whole mantra has been optimization.
Yeah.
How do we do things faster, cheaper, with less friction?
Get more efficient.
Right. But the sources argue we have to shift from that to purpose. When teams truly deeply understand the human outcome they're driving toward, not just the technical deliverable, but the human outcome speed becomes a beneficial byproduct of that focus. It stops being the primary goal.
So instead of just optimizing, say, the time it takes to process a user request,
You're optimizing the user's ability to actually achieve what they wanted to do in the first place.
it's a completely different lens.
It changes everything. Without purpose, teams just find really sophisticated ways to stay busy, refining minor features that have zero market impact. But with purpose, that same amount of effort suddenly feels lighter. It feels focused. It feels consequential.
Okay, so purpose gives us direction. But the second reflection immediately challenges how we power the journey. We have to look at our relationship with the engine itself. Reflection 2 states, AI is a partner, not a tool.
And this is where most organizations get stuck.
You're seeing it as simple automation.
Exactly. When you treat AI as mere automation like a digital clipboard or a glorified intern, you completely cap its potential value. The sources are definitive on this. Partnering with AI expands human thinking.
So what does that look like in the real world beyond, having AI draft a meeting summary or generate some boilerplate code?
Well, the finding in the sources is pretty striking. While most teams use AI to save time, only a tiny fraction are using it to actively question their own core assumptions,
To challenge their own thinking.
or to spot complex patterns that they, as humans, are just too close to the problem to see.
But isn't there a risk there? I mean, are we just replacing human intuition with machine analysis? Where's the partnership if the machine is doing all the complex questioning?
That's the critical difference, you see. A tool just executes a command. A partner helps you think better. When we talk about AI questioning assumptions, we're talking about things like counterfactual modeling.
Okay.
So, quickly running hundreds of what-if scenarios against your main business idea. If a team assumes a product launch will succeed because of, say, factor X,
Right.
the AI partner stress tests that. It simulates the impact of a sudden regulatory change, or a supply chain failure, or a competitor making an unexpected move. It doesn't replace the human hypothesis. It sharpens it.
That completely reframes the relationship. And if AI is expanding our thinking like that, what happens when we point it in the wrong direction? Which brings us to reflection 3. Purpose without intelligence is blind.
This one really resonates with the complexity of the modern world. Vision and purpose are absolutely necessary. They're our moral compass, our directional compass.
Of course.
But that compass alone can't navigate hypercomplexity. Think about a rapidly evolving regulatory environment or shifting geopolitical risks.
These are those unpredictable, interconnected variables that just overwhelm human teams.
They do. Purpose gives you direction, but it can't see around corners. It can't predict the impact of a tiny supply chain disruption 10 steps down the line. You need AI to help teams adapt, to continuously predict risks, and to recalibrate the vision when reality shifts day to day.
Without that, the most brilliant human vision could become obsolete overnight.
It could become irrelevant, yeah.
Speaking of things becoming obsolete, Reflection 4 tackles organizational rigidity. This is where process often starts to, well, strangle the human spirit of agility. The sources say that compliance kills conscious agility.
And this is a massive, massive drain on energy. When you impose these rigid, fixed rules and bureaucratic processes, teams become paralyzed.
They get scared.
They do. They stop innovating because they're afraid of breaking a rule. And that fear just stops organizational learning dead in its tracks. The focus shifts entirely to proving we followed the rules, not we delivered value.
So what's the alternative then? I mean, an organization needs some kind of structure to prevent total chaos, right?
It absolutely does. The alternative that's proposed is using guardrails supported by AI. Now, crucially, these aren't rigid, fixed rules. They're dynamic boundaries. They're rooted in risk thresholds that are defined by human intent and then constantly monitored by machine intelligence.
How does that actually shift the dynamic? Because, to an average team member, a guardrail might sound just as restrictive as a rule.
The difference is psychological, and it's structural. Traditional compliance dictates how you must act. AI-supported guardrails define where the boundaries of risk are, and then they give the team the freedom to operate creatively within those boundaries.
So it's more about awareness.
Exactly. If you start to approach a risk threshold, say a 15% probability of a compliance failure, the AI alerts you. It doesn't stop you. It creates an informed conversation. This framework allows for freedom and flexibility without chaos. These guardrails, they create genuine trust, and trust is what unlocks real team ownership and responsibility.
I love that idea. AI-supported guardrails creating intellectual trust. That leads us perfectly to Reflection 5, which feels like the synthesis of all these ideas. When purpose and AI align.
This is the convergence point. It's where it all comes together. When human intent, that clear, ethical, purpose-driven focus and machine intelligence align seamlessly, that's when agility achieves its full potential. The organization becomes both incredibly fast and deeply meaningful.
And the sources show the payoff is way more than just better delivery methods.
Or far more. The primary result is that teams feel genuinely fulfilled by the work. They're delivering faster, yes, but they also have the confidence that the direction is right, the risks have been checked, and the effort is tied directly to a human purpose. This resolves that whole paradox of feeling exhausted and confused.
And that brings us to the 6th reflection and the key insight on this burden of complexity, the core pattern. When we look across all these points, purpose, partnership, clarity, guardrails, what's the single biggest reason agility consistently breaks?
Connecting all the dots, the recurring theme is crystal clear. Agility breaks down when humans are forced to carry the entire cognitive load alone. That's the massive hidden burden of isolated human effort.
Let's define cognitive load very clearly for the listener. What are we specifically asking people to carry when we say isolated effort?
We're talking about the cumulative mental burden, the burden of prediction, of recognizing subtle, complex market patterns that unfold over months, of synthesizing massive amounts of unstructured data, and of making constant high-stakes risk assessments. All of that falling solely on human shoulders.
It's just too much.
It's too much for any one person or even a small team to process effectively in a dynamic world. It's like trying to navigate a dense fog while reading 100 conflicting maps at the same time.
So the mechanism of AI Agile is really about creating a necessary, intelligent redistribution of that thinking burden.
Precisely. The human's job is to set the intent, to provide the purpose and the direction. The AI's job is to continuously amplify awareness, spotting the weak signals, validating assumptions, running the calculations, flagging deviations in real time. The whole focus shifts. It goes from management asking for more effort from people to focusing on creating better collaboration between people and intelligence.
That sounds fantastic in theory, but now, the practical side. If you, the listener, want to integrate this core value of human-AI collaboration into your own workflow tomorrow, how do you even start? How do we build this partnership?
The sources outlined a very clear three-step process, and the order here matters a great deal.
Which means we have to start back at reflection 1.
Correct. Step 1 is clarify purpose first. Collaboration always begins by clarifying that human purpose, and you have to do this before you plan any tasks or define a single timeline. This is the human responsibility.
So that means sitting down and asking those fundamental questions like, who benefits from this? Why are we doing this right now? What human problem are we actually solving? Focusing on the outcome, not just the output.
Absolutely. Once that clear, human-centered purpose is established, only then do you move to step 2. Continuous intelligence. AI should then be used to surface patterns, risks, and contradictory signals, continuously, all relative to that purpose you just set.
It's like the AI is acting as a continuous strategic radar.
It is, and this intelligence ensures that decisions stop being gut reactions or based on limited data. They become truly informed conversations. When a human team sits down to make a choice, the AI partner has already synthesized the data, flagged the risks, and presented maybe 3 viable alternatives. The conversation gets elevated from debating data points to debating strategy and impact.
And finally, step 3. This continuous collaboration radically shifts the role of process itself.
It does. The process shifts from being a restrictive cage that dictates every tiny action to being a supportive and dynamic guide. The structure is still there, but because the AI is ensuring alignment and guarding those risk thresholds, the team gets back this massive sense of genuine ownership and flexibility.
They become consciously agile, not compulsively compliant.
That's the perfect way to put it. This deep dive, it reveals something simple but so powerful at its core. Process creates structure. You need that foundation. Purpose creates direction. That gives you meaning. And AI adds continuous intelligence.
And the sources really stress that the intelligence is only valuable, only actionable, when humans remain intentional, when they stay tethered to that purpose. This has to fundamentally change how leadership and coaching works.
It does. We stop managing for compliance, making sure everyone follows the rigid rules, and we start cultivating conscious collaboration among team members and between them and their AI partners. It's a huge shift in focus for leaders, from micromanaging tasks to fostering a vibrant thinking partnership.
That really feels like the essential leadership shift for this era, moving from checking boxes to actively fostering true, intentional collaboration.
Indeed. And I'd encourage you to reflect on this provocative thought from the source material, something to mull over after this. Where is your team relying only on human effort today? Finding that one spot of unnecessary cognitive load, that's the first and most powerful step toward real human-AI collaboration.
That is a powerful question to start applying this thinking right away. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the AI Agile Manifesto.
It's always a pleasure to unpack these essential shifts in how we work and think.